Hello friends, welcome to my channel Quiz and Storyline. Today, we are going to talk about a story. The story begins with a scene where a person is injecting a green liquid into a bug, and immediately, the bug doubles from 1 to 2. The scene cuts, and we see some people building a star called Alabel Spikel. In reality, Elsbeth is a beautiful model and also the host of a show. For a long time, people would take selfies with this star, but gradually, people's interest started fading, and the star broke apart, with no one bothering to fix it. This clearly indicated that people had lost interest. The scene shifts, and Elsbeth's 50th birthday is shown. She has aged but is still hosting the same show. After the shoot, when she went to use the bathroom in the morning, she realized that the modern bathroom was closed for some reason. So, she went to another bathroom where the director was also present. The director was talking on the phone, discussing Elsbeth's case. He said
Sağ
that
koyacağım.
Elsbeth isn't the same as before. The show's ratings were once high because of her, but now the TRP is dropping. He mentioned that he needed to replace her with a new, young, and beautiful girl for the show. Hearing this, Elsbeth's heart broke. The beauty that people once admired in her had faded. She stared at herself in the mirror, noticing the wrinkles on her face. Not only was she upset about aging, but now she was also pained by the fact that she was being replaced in the show. She went to meet the director, who told her that there was nothing he could do to help her because the show depends on the audience. He explained that he wanted to give the people what they want, which is beauty, something she no longer possesses. The director's words crushed her even more. She left the hotel, but while driving, the director's words kept replaying in her mind. Distracted, she failed to notice an oncoming car, which collided with her vehicle. Surprisingly, Elsbeth wasn't hurt at all in the severe accident. It was as though luck had been on her side. The doctor discharged her from the hospital, but as she drove home, she saw her pictures being taken down from a billboard, causing her to burst into tears. Meanwhile, a nurse examined her spine and then handed her back her clothes. As soon as she stepped outside the hospital, she realized that the nurse had left a note in her coat. The note read that she had changed the night for me, and there was also a flash drive that said, and as soon as you arrive, you need to burn this drive. The drive contained information about a liquid called 30 substance, which was a magical solution. This solution could give any person their new and youthful version. Elsbeth was also given another fluid that kept both versions, the old and the new, together. This process was not very difficult, but it wasn't entirely easy either. Anyone who used this substance had to activate both versions every 7 days. To stabilize the new youthful body, a special injection had to be administered daily, which was extracted from the spine of the old body. When one version, meaning one body, was activated, the other version remained unconscious. Initially, Elsbeth found all of this hard to believe. Thinking the flash drive was a hoax, she threw it in the trash. However, that night, when she faced mental stress and looked at her youthful pictures, she impulsively texted the number given to her, requesting the substance. The person on the other end didn't say much. They just asked for Elsbeth's address and then hung up after providing her with a location. The next morning, Elsbeth was reading the newspaper when she noticed an advertisement from her own company, seeking a new model to replace her. This realization made her even more despondent. Along with the newspaper, she received a black envelope containing a phone number. Using this number, Elsbeth arrived at the secret location, which turned out to be a locker room. After opening her locker, she found a box, which she took home. Inside the box were a syringe and a stabilizer essential for maintaining the new body daily. A special kit was also provided for switching between the two bodies, along with specific food. Elsbeth went to the bathroom and spent a long time examining her body, indecisive about her choice. Ultimately, she injected the substance into herself. For a moment, she felt nothing, but then severe pain struck, and a new, young girl emerged from her. This was Elsbeth's new version. The new version gazed at her beauty in the mirror, unable to believe that the product she used had actually worked. She had become incredibly beautiful and youthful. To keep her old version alive, she also attached a food bag, which the company had provided. When she woke up the next morning, she noticed blood oozing, causing her to panic. Then it dawned on her that she needed to extract the substance from her old body and inject it to keep the new body activated. She quickly extracted the substance from her old body and injected it, feeling perfectly fine afterward. The beauty of this new version was far superior to the previous one. Therefore, she got ready to audition for the same show from which she had been removed. Upon seeing her beauty, everyone was astonished, and the director immediately selected her. Elsbeth introduced herself as Sue at this audition. After being selected, Sue remembered that she had to switch bodies every week. She made up an excuse that her mother was ill and she needed to go to her village weekly to take care of her. The director accepted her condition without objection, allowing her to take a break each week. Eventually, Sue got the job she had been enjoying immensely. Because of the new body's beauty, she quickly amassed a lot of followers, and her advertisements and billboards began popping up all over the city. 6 days passed, and the seventh day arrived. It was time to shift bodies again. She activated her old body, set the new body aside, and attached the food bag. Then she headed to her office, where the director gave her a gift for her work but also criticized her, resulting in her dismissal from the show. This made her feel very upset. The next day, while reading the newspaper, Elsbeth received an envelope from the company that had provided her with the substance. Inside the envelope was a message stating that her new dress kit had arrived. Elsbeth put on her coat and collected the kit. Now, 7 days had passed, and Elsbeth transformed back into Sue, activating the new body once more. The new body intended to enjoy all that life had to offer. She would sometimes be at home, but often, she wouldn't. She was afraid that her truth might be revealed one day, so she decided to break down a wall in her house to hide her old body there. The dry crackling noise was so loud that her neighbors began to worry. When one neighbor came over to complain, he was so taken aback by her beauty that he couldn't voice his complaint. The elderly man offered his assistance, saying that he lived nearby. However, Sue was engaged in secretive work and didn't need any help, so she shut the door in his face in a haughty manner. She then went inside and worked for several hours to complete her task. She created a secret space within her home and concealed Elizabeth's old body there. Now that Sue had taken Elizabeth's place and was on her way to becoming famous, she also hid all of Elizabeth's youthful pictures alongside her old body. Sue was so engrossed in her new form that she completely forgot that today was the day for her body shift. Elizabeth's old body was running out of food, and today she was supposed to shift bodies. Sue had also invited a friend over, and while she was busy with her tasks, she suddenly felt blood trickling from her nose, and an odd tingling sensation began in her body. She realized that it was time to switch bodies, but greed overtook her, and she decided to spend more time in her new form. She extracted the substance from Elizabeth's body and injected it into her own, which made her feel fine but left Elizabeth's body in jeopardy. What would happen next would soon be revealed. Another 7 days passed, and Sue continued to live this way. When she shifted bodies, she noticed that one of her fingers had become damaged, and this was entirely due to her negligence. She hadn't changed her body in time. In distress, Elizabeth called the company to inquire about a cycle she had missed, which resulted in her finger getting hurt, and she asked what could be done to fix it. The company replied that there was no solution, what was done was done. Hearing this made her very anxious. The company informed her that they were not two separate beings, they had both emerged from the same body, so she needed to be careful. After hearing this response, Elizabeth made a new decision. She intended to keep her new body active and, after filling it with a substance, she went to a restaurant where she noticed an old man talking strangely. Elizabeth observed that the old man had the same mark on his hand as the one she had seen on a nurse's hand in the hospital. This meant that the old man was the previous version of that nurse. The old man asked her if her new body had started feeding her. This made Elizabeth anxious, and she fled the scene. Now back home, she wanted to be happy in her old body too, so she called her friend over and got ready extensively. She wore lovely clothes and did her makeup to resemble her new body. Just as she was about to step outside, she saw sus posters hanging outside. The moment she noticed them, all her confidence shattered, and she messed up her makeup and hair. She began to lose her sanity. During a depressive episode, she overate and then fell asleep. That night, she dreamt that she had returned to Elizabeth's body, and her show was on air. During the shooting, she suddenly felt something strange in her lower body, which confused her, and she left the shooting to go to the bathroom. When she checked, she discovered it was a chicken. Terrified, she woke up. When morning came, she truly switched bodies and headed to the show. However, upon arrival, she found that the show's equipment was being packed up, and she was told that the show would no longer continue. Frightened, she rushed to the director. But the director cheered her up by saying that she wouldn't be doing a regular show anymore. Instead, she would be the host for the New Year event. This made her ecstatic, and she immediately agreed. Although New Year was still a long way off, and she needed to switch her bodies, she didn't care. Sue remained in her new body for several days, and to keep it active, she continued to extract the stabilizer from Elizabeth's old body and inject it into her own. When Sue switched her body, she realized that Elizabeth's old body had deteriorated significantly. Due to the excessive extraction of serum, Elizabeth's body had transformed into a mere lump of flesh. Sue began to loathe Elizabeth upon seeing her own condition. She started smashing all the pictures of Elizabeth in her house and covered the mirror where she caught a glimpse of Sue's reflection. She was extremely distressed and repeatedly called the company to ask if there was any solution. Could she not regain the old body from which Sue had been removed? The company responded that, as previously mentioned, what had happened was irreversible, and nothing could be changed now. However, if she wished, she could spend the remainder of her life in her old body. But Elizabeth was not satisfied with this option. Soon after, Elizabeth received a call for the show, and she immediately switched her body back. Upon switching, she extracted the serum from Elizabeth's old body and injected it into her own, enjoying 3 months in Sue's body. However, on New Year's show night, her body parts suddenly began to fail. She hurried to extract serum from Elizabeth's old body but found that no serum was coming out. Seeing this, she panicked and called the company. The company informed her that if no serum was being extracted, it meant that all the serum had been consumed, and she would have to wait for new serum to be produced. Sue's condition had deteriorated significantly. Without thinking clearly, she prepared to switch her body. The boy in her room heard the noises and felt strange. He approached the bathroom, but Elizabeth quickly shut the bathroom door to prevent him from seeing her horrendous form. When Elizabeth looked in the mirror, she saw that she had become completely elderly and bald. Walking had also become difficult for her. In a panic, she called the company again and stated that she wanted to put a stop to everything. The company representatives agreed to her request and told her to bring the termination fluid. Elizabeth concealed her body with clothes and went to retrieve the termination fluid. As she began to apply the fluid to Sue's body, she remembered the manager's warning that once termination was performed, she would remain in that body forever. Contemplating this, she decided against injecting the serum. When she gazed into the mirror at her body, she felt a surge of anger towards Sue because all this had happened due to her. In a fit of rage, she injected a portion of the serum, but then she realized she still needed to host the show and would be receiving an award. Driven by greed, she decided to keep some of the serum for herself and then attempted to awaken Sue. When Sue did not awaken, Elizabeth activated the activator, causing Sue to wake up. Both bodies became active together. When Sue realized that Elizabeth was about to eliminate her, she became furious. Sue struck Elizabeth with such force that her head shattered, and she died. After killing Elizabeth, Sue realized that she had made a grave mistake. Now she wouldn't have access to the activator substance either. Nonetheless, Sue cleaned up everything and went to her New Year's show. When she arrived and was welcomed, she felt immense joy. Suddenly, Sue began to feel something strange in her body. Blood started flowing from her nose, and she hurried to the bathroom. As soon as she opened her mouth, 2 of her teeth broke and fell out. She panicked and touched her remaining teeth, causing 2 more to break and fall out. Now she realized that Elizabeth's time was up, leading to her body's deterioration. If she wanted to survive, she had to apply the activation serum, so she hurried home. While in the elevator, one of her nails and another tooth fell out, which made her even more anxious. However, when another man entered the lift, she began to compose herself to hide how frightened she truly was. She managed to appear normal, and as soon as she reached home, she immediately applied the activation serum, but nothing happened. Then she remembered that she had one last substance left, which she could use only once. Without much deliberation, she injected that substance into herself. As soon as she did, she experienced excruciating pain, and her body split open at the waist. From within emerged a bizarre hybrid being of Sue and Elizabeth, resembling a terrifying monster. Sue's mental state had deteriorated, and she didn't even realize what she had become. In this condition, she still wanted to present herself to the world. She pasted Sue's picture over her hybrid face and set off for her show. As soon as she reached the stage near the microphone, the picture fell from her mouth, revealing her horrifying hybrid face to everyone. Seeing this, the crowd panicked and began to flee, calling her a monster. Meanwhile, one man looked at her closely and bit her face, causing her to stumble away. Blood started oozing from her body, splattering throughout the studio. The audience fled in terror, and Sue's body bizarrely disintegrated into pieces, crawling like a worm. The writhing fragments of her body made their way outside, where Elizabeth's face lay directly under a streetlight. Her smile was peculiar as she gazed up at the sky. Suddenly, that face also burst apart, leaving only blood behind. The next morning, the workers cleaned up the blood, and thus, the story came to an end. I request you all to help me reach 10,000 subscribers on my channel soon. We hope you will enjoy this video and like it. Please subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much for your love-filled comments. See you in the next video.